quite as much. Hopefully you guys can hear us. Don't mind the vehicle background noise. I will probably do some cleanup when I can.
Alright.
And we got some pizzas that we're going to finish eating. We got our food and then all of a sudden realized what time it was.
Yeah, I had to scurry off to the movie quick, so...
So then, Ghostbusters. How about non-spoilers first, just for the people who might actually still want to see this thing?
Okay, just as a general, I'll say I went in expecting, the absolute worst with this, and I will say I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't have much high hopes. I thought it was going to be like... I didn't think there was going to be anything that was terrifying. I was kind of thinking like there'd be a lot of kind of fourth wall breaks with the main characters kind of doing winks to the camera the whole time. So there wasn't really any of that, thankfully. So yeah, without getting into too much, I'll just say that I enjoyed it for what it was. Yeah, it wasn't terrible at all. So
on my end, I heard lots of bad things. I wanted to still go in and try and give the movie its fair shake. I didn't want to hate on it automatically just because it sounded like it had some rough goings on in the background. It is far better than I was thinking it was going to be, though.
Oh, yeah.
That being said, because, let's face facts, even without spoilers, those trailers were god-awful.
Oh, yeah, the trailers did not do this film any favors. And that's one of the reasons I went in thinking that it was going to be just utter garbage, just because I saw the trailers and I thought, oh, geez, if this is supposed to be like, their best showcase of the movie that they can put forward, then the rest of it's just going to be...
Yeah.
It's going to be a train wreck.
And it is really the worst trailers that do absolutely no justice at all. So with that being said, getting into the movie proper, basic plot, Ghostbusters, one of the Ghostbusters is trying to become, I believe, a student at a higher college, I believe. She was trying to get tenure at another college, at another university, and she was trying to avoid a whole bunch of things that were trying to come at her. She had an old man come to her about a book that she thought was never going to go to print because she said no. Yeah. Even though she wrote apparently about half of it.
Yep. Yeah, so it's
and so it ends up that the other person who helped her write with this book, but told the other person no, it was one of the other Ghostbusters. Yep. But she printed it anyways because it's also making her money.
Yep. And the other thing was the old guy. I don't know the actor's name, but he was Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones. So yeah.
The younger guy?
The old guy that
the old guy,
ended up firing her, so
oh, alright.
Yeah. So that was kind of interesting to see, so
So Lannister fired her from the university.
Yep.
But long and short of it, the book is what causes a man from a mansion that's supposedly haunted to approach the first Ghostbuster, and causes her to come in contact with her friend and one of the other Ghostbusters who has now befriended her in the meantime since last time they met, apparently. They head off to the mansion, they encounter the ghost, the ghost flees, and they leave outside, and they finally start shouting about how ghosts are real, and then we pan out to see that it's a computer screen and it's her boss firing her from the university.
Yeah, it's like, this is not the kind of reputation we want the university to have, etc., and basically dismisses her. And of course, there's that video, I did like kind of how they used YouTube in this, because that was not the only video that ended up on YouTube, but the next time they encounter ghosts in the subway, they uploaded it as well. But of course, everybody is just, commenting how, oh, this is so fake. And honestly, given the CGI, I can see why they would think that.
Given the CGI, yeah, nice fake CGI. Yeah. It looks like garbage. Yeah. If this is the kind of CGI you're going to make, seriously, Sony, think about actually using on-screen props, because, oh my god.
Yeah, that is one of the things that kind of detracted from the movie, was, I was expecting the CGI to be, top of the line, and...
especially after a movie like World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
And who would have thought that would have happened, am I right?
Yeah.
After a movie like World of Warcraft, you can't put out CGI like this anymore. It's way too dodgy and way too fake.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even the monster at the end of the movie that is supposed to be like their final boss to defeat, like it just felt kind of kludgy throughout the whole scene. Like after he grew to this giant size, like the whole thing just it lost its intimidation factor for me. So.
Mm-hmm. So, as they're continuing to do this stuff, they're continuing the research, the university they're actually working for, the second one, suddenly realizes they still exist and kicks them out, and they steal half of their apparatus from the school.
Yep.
Which, by the way, that was a funny little cameo for the guy from, I can't think of his name right now, from Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. That's like his co-host.
Oh,
That second head of the university.
okay.
That's why I was having a giggle with him, because he was doing a pretty solid job with that, actually, for such a little role.
Yeah. Yeah, like I thought that like a lot of the little roles were pretty well done throughout it. So, but yeah. So yeah, there's a so before that they meet the fourth woman.
After they get kicked out, they move to the Chinese restaurant upstairs, which is the same Chinese restaurant.
Yep, that's when they encounter. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and it's the same Chinese restaurant that the heavier set Ghostbuster. She really wants wonton soup constantly. I would think it would have been a lame joke, but it actually starts to pan out at places, so I'll allow it.
Yeah. Yeah, especially like the one at the end where like that the last one was what they did from.
Yeah, the last part of that joke is you just see this gradual progression of the joke, and then finally it just nails it home at the end. It's just like, okay, you totally made this joke worthwhile.
Yeah.
you just brought home and you just punched it right in the eye. Yep. you nailed it on the head. But they go to this Chinese restaurant for their new base of operations after looking at the original Ghostbusters firehouse, which they can't afford. Mm-hmm. So they first encounter I forget his name now. Thor.
Oh gosh. I'm drawing a blank too.
Yeah, I can't remember the actor's name right now. Thor. But they encounter Thor. He becomes their secretary. He's horrible with phones. By the end of the movie, he's actually trying to answer the phones like he's an actual Ghostbuster. So there's progression of that joke, which is actually nice to see.
Yeah, he was pretty good in this movie, though.
Yeah. He probably was the one thing that kept us going for parts of it. Mm-hmm. But then again, there's also the floating hot dog, which made me want to eat my own head.
Oh, yeah.
That was like the worst.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
I cringed. I cringed so hard.
That whole scene made me cringe. Like, there's a lot of like when they're going through the interviews for the secretaries. Like that whole scene is just. It's just a groaner. I'm sorry. Like
it's shotgun with this joke is passable, and then shotgun with a whole bunch of oh god no. Please stop.
And plus like the one that one Ghostbuster is just turning into like the stereotypical. Okay, so there's a hot guy, so any semblance of professionalism is out the window. Any semblance of her character up to that point is out the window, and she's just an empty caricature for that whole scene. And it's just, I'm like, what are you guys doing? Really? They're like, come on, it just didn't work for me at all.
Thankfully, they started to stop that about halfway through.
Yeah, it's like, I'm glad that kind of started taking a backseat and was less prominent by then. So
yes. So other than that, trying to speed through this really quickly. The fourth future Ghostbuster comes to them after she sees a electric chair victim as a form of a ghost suddenly appeared before her and chased her out of the subway tunnels. Also, after seeing the apparatus that Ronan has been using to make the ghosts happen. So there's a bad guy named Ronan who's been using the same devices that the Ghostbusters actually talked about in their book before they became Ghostbusters. And he's trying to bring forth ghosts because he's been teased and picked on, and he's just like, forget it, everyone's done.
Yeah, he basically hates people, but like takes it to the next level and wants revenge against everybody. So
instead of taking what he knows and putting it to decent use.
Yeah.
Oops. They go to investigate. They find the same guy again. They manage to almost pull him out of the subway until he gets trapped in the train. And actually, one of the good jokes is that he's like the third scariest thing on that train that's going to Queens right now.
Yep.
That's a solid joke right there.
Yeah.
There's little peppered moments like that if they would have actually been the rule instead of the exception, they could have actually been legitimately funny throughout.
Oh, yeah.
Which drives me crazy. But then they find out about a ghost that's apparently haunting a musical hall. They go to investigate. They capture it. It's their first captured ghost. Bill Murray appears as a non-believer.
Yeah.
They let loose the ghost, and it kills him on its exit trajectory.
Yep.
And then they start to figure out everything by examining where more and more of these third-class apparitions are appearing. Third class being obviously visual, easy-to-see apparitions that are appearing before people. And they managed to figure out that it's ley lines and that Ronan is trying to open up essentially a big giant vortex of supernatural energy right in the middle of these ley lines. They try to chase him down as they realize the center of it is a hotel, which is run by Janine from the original Ghostbusters movies.
That was a nice cameo.
That was a very nice little cameo. She did it very well, and she even recycled one of her lines from the original. What do you want?
Yeah.
And so they go in there, they try to stop Ronan, and he kills himself, and they think, well, that was kind of weird. But they also realize that he had one of their books. So they're looking through the book as they're trying to do business as usual. The government, by the way, also already knows about them by now and wants to keep it as hush-hush as possible.
Yeah.
But even though they can't seem to keep it hush-hush, the government itself is trying to play it off like it's nothing, like this is business as usual.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of silly pranksters.
Yeah, and they keep saying that the Ghostbusters are just frauds, and they just are trying to destroy their credibility in order so that the public doesn't have mass hysteria because the public can't handle anything. So.
At least according to the government, they can't. Dude, if Ghostbusting became real, hire me up for that job. That'd probably be one of the most rewarding things outside of being a police officer or a fireman, I would think. So they managed to stop him, but then as they're reading through the book, they realize that this was actually part of his plan and that he's become a ghost now, and he's willed himself to come back through the energy he's already unleashed. He manages to first take over one of the Ghostbusters, the one that loves the wontons, and then being smacked out of her, which the second smack was still highly unnecessary, and that ruined the joke.
Yeah.
The first smack was kind of funny, and then the second smack just like,
Yeah, I saw it coming. I was like, oh, come on.
Please just edit it out. Nope. But then the ghost comes back, and the Roan ghost comes back, possesses Ken, and then takes him back to the hotel where he starts at the machine, pauses everyone in a dance pose from a otherwise cut-out scene of the entire army dancing in front of the hotel.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. Like, I could tell they were starting the pose. I was like, okay, and then we finally get it when it gets to the credits. So.
Yeah, but by the way, I think during the montage when the new Ecto 1 is first going through the streets, there's actually a cut sequence where you got Bill Murray as a homeless guy doing his Candy Shack stuff, while what's his name? I can't think of his name. The skinny geeky guy from the original 2. I can't think of his name right now. Oh, it kills me. I know his name.
Yeah.
Darth Helmet. Anyway, Darth Helmet. He actually comes walking through the street like he was possessed, like he was in the first movie.
Oh, wow.
It's like a huge, giant in-reference that apparently, according to the TV trailers, was really funny. Where is it?
Yeah.
This is Sony meddling too much again.
Yeah.
This is Sony meddling too much. That could have been a glorious scene that you could just downplay the music a little bit for a moment and get this really funny scene and then go on to the next.
Yep.
It would have also given them reason to have Bill Murray on for more than just 2 scenes.
Yeah. Man, I was happy though when Bill Murray showed up for another scene. I'm like, oh, good, they didn't just throw him away immediately.
Yeah.
But then he died right away, so.
Yeah, that was lame. They had more footage, but they never used any of it, even though it was good. So actually, I wouldn't mind an uncut version on DVD.
Yeah.
That would actually be really nice. Sony. Stop meddling, Sony. I do blame studios for meddling and cutting too much out of movies. It's usually the go-to priority number one assholes that do that.
Yeah.
And Sony is known for tampering too much lately. But again, I think the heads have changed, so maybe that might finally change as well.
Yeah, here's hoping.
Here's hoping, especially if the things actually go well for this movie.
Yeah.
So they finally confront Rowan again. He lets go of Kevin after doing a little Peter Pan move that made me shout, "Oh God!"
Yeah.
that was actually legitimately funny as well. Just he put extra sparkles as a trail when he flew that time after mentioning Peter Pan.
Use this to Peter Pan now.
I'll just go with it. Look at me. So that was another generally funny scene. Then he's like, "Okay, fine. I'm just a spirit. What do you want me to look like if you don't want me to be Kevin? How about a nice, cute little funny ghost?" And then he literally becomes an animated version of the icon, which I would have been fine with just that. But then he turns into a guy in a real costume. I still would have been fine with that. That still looks spooky as all hell.
Yeah.
And then he becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and then the realism just goes so far out the window that we just go.
Yeah, that's when the CGI starts to break down, and you're like, okay, I can't take it seriously.
It becomes a CGI hot mess, and we've encountered more than our fair share of giant monsters, both in Ghostbusters and other things. Just no. Sony. That was so bad.
Yeah.
If you would have kept him a normal-sized ghost and actually had him be a legitimate threat to the Ghostbusters, that would have been so much better. Mm-hmm. It had him, like, just literally one by one trying to chase them down as they maybe scatter to try and figure out a plan.
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of things I could have done differently for the end sequence just to make it a little bit more terrifying.
Yeah. But we got what we got, and it would have, even what we got would have been okay-ish if it wasn't for the fact that the last thing they do to Rowan had to be a nut shot.
Oh, yeah.
The nut shot also just makes me go, oh, God damn it. Which also led a lot of people to believe there was more of a different kind of message in this movie than there was.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think it was overly...
And thankfully, that wasn't, like, the overall message, so it just comes off as just this really weird, awkward moment. It's just like... Mm-hmm. It comes off as a common denominator moment, where this is pandering to people even outside of the U.S. just because, nut shot.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It felt like an attempt at a cheap joke.
So, cheap jokes aside, there were some good moments, both for the horror and also for the comedy. The characters can be good when the jokes actually come up to fruition. The problem is some of them have to wait till the end of the movie.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, I don't know. As a first round, it's kind of like a feeling up for it. I can understand, like, you know, it does have very much a new feel for it. Like, you know, these are new characters. They're still trying to get their grounding, and they're still...
You just saw a fly.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to shoot a fly. But I think anytime, like... Yeah, I think that's what made the original Ghostbusters rare, is because it didn't felt like it needed time to hit its stride, whereas this, I feel it's warming up. It's getting there.
For whatever reason, even though they didn't really need to warm up, for whatever reason, they're going the slow path on this, and they're letting it warm up.
Yeah.
Which I hope that if they do let warm up, I hope they don't have us warm up again on the second try.
Oh yeah, I know.
Because apparently, if they do actually succeed in getting this movie done, the next one is going to be a team of guys. And then that team of guys is going to get further things from the original Ghostbusters that will lead into both teams coming together to fight off Zool and Gozer.
Oh, alright.
Supposedly in a third movie. So we have to kind of wait and see. This one, it'll pass. It'll pass. It just barely. It's kind of middle of the road because, again, there's a lot of stuff that's actually funny and a lot of stuff that'll make you groan. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some scenes that work really well, there's some jokes that work really well, and there's other ones where it's just like... Yeah. So,
it's a watchable film.
Yep.
Which you can't always guarantee about everything. Apparently, Batman v Superman was not watchable until the latest version. So, there's that. So, you're better than Batman v Superman. Be thankful. And yes, the scorn was unwarranted from people because, let's face it, there's no way you could have gotten this trailer of this movie out without ruining good parts.
That's true. I mean, yeah.
Just because of the way this movie was shot, you couldn't have gotten out the actual legitimately really good parts without ruining them, and there's just no good way of advertising a movie like this, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I can understand why the trailers were so shoddy, but please, Sony, try a little bit harder next time.
Yeah.
If nothing else, make it a montage or something.
I would have been much happier with some montage.
Just make like 3/4 of the trailer a montage and make it a little bit shorter, and probably would like it a lot better.
Yep.
And also the effects. If you can't do CG as good as Warcraft, then don't do CG. Do it the way the original Ghostbusters did, because it looks so much better, and your movie's gonna look dated, and it already looks dated now because of Warcraft.
It kind of did feel dated. Like, yeah.
This looks like a movie that should have come out like almost 5 years ago already by the looks of the CGI in this thing. It does not pan, Sony. You need to do something better than that.
Yep.
So either completely cut out the CGI or actually put out the money for it, one or the other.
Yeah.
And now you're getting the Spider-Man money, Sony, from Marvel. You can do this. You can throw some money at this and actually make your own legitimate movie series. But I think that about covers it, and there's a crowd of people coming.
Yeah. That's all I have. But I say, if you're curious about it, go see it. It's not going to be horrible. You're not going to hate it. Hopefully not. There might be a time or two where you wish to kind of punch yourself, but overall, it's not going to make you want to hate yourself. Right. Yeah.
At the very least.
Right.
So see you all next time. Yep.